Hello everybody. Gonna add our peeps on here real quick.
Okay.
Madison, oh my gosh.
Hi. Sorry, it wouldn't let me do it. It was like, you don't have enough followers.
Are you serious?
It was like, you
What?
have to have 1,000 followers to do live.
That is so rude. Do they not know that Gilbert is an influencer baby? I mean, come on.
Oh well.
Oh, whatever. Okay, well, we're here. We're live. We got it going. I see Walker is down there. What's up, Walker? Did Caroline, did she go?
She's I don't know, but yeah, hopefully she'll find you.
Let me try her again.
Okay. And then I think we should be able to get Walker, right? Because I think we can do 4 people.
Yes, we can.
Well,
Says she's unable to join. Is she requesting to join? Hold on one second. Let me go let my dog out real quick because he's going to be barking.
we are really good podcasters. The technical issues. This is what I edit out in the beginning. Okay, see, Caroline is watching.
Okay. Yeah, this is why I'm glad that you can edit this out. So, I accepted Carol. Oh.
Yay!
And now we have our special guest, the fan.
The fan is here. I feel like this makes it charming, like our lack of ability.
I know. It's like, listen. Oh, there's the fan. Hey. Oh my gosh.
I'm keeping that in.
We're here. All right. You're
I
here.
I need glasses.
We're ready.
Yeah,
yes. You know what? You need to join the Glasses Club.
I have some light glasses.
I was doing this honestly because I did not wear any makeup today. And so I'm hoping this kind of hides my, my face a little bit. So
You're looking good, Bird. You are
thanks.
looking good.
I'm representing the ATL because the National League won for all you non-baseball fans. Go Braves. All right, y'all. So let's get started. This is In Rare Company, where we are going to talk about all things rare, like Elamipretide, and how the FDA needs to reverse their decision and approve Elamipretide. And today we have a very special guest who's going to be joining us soon. And he's going to tell us his story. But first, we have to talk about snacks.
I knew you were going to talk about that, and I was like, I don't have a snack. I do change the poopy diaper.
Okay,
I need a snack.
I want to show everybody what I have for a snack that I've had since about 8 o'clock this morning. I have my favorite coffee shop, Meadowlark Coffee. It is ice cold, but it's still so delicious ice cold. So I'm still drinking that. And I also have Sam's Club animal crackers.
Ooh.
Because you can't go wrong with it.
Okay. Good. We're glasses sisters.
All right, now I feel a lot better. We don't feel so alone now that you have glasses on. So. All right. Does anybody else want to share their snacks if y'all have got snacks?
I have no snacks, but I might go grab one. Gatorade. I knew you'd have Gatorade, Madison. I was like, she's going to have that blue Gatorade.
We got our Gatorade girl from Colorado out there. And yeah, so y'all, this is episode 2. I'm Haley.
I'm Caroline.
We gotta work. We gotta
come up with the order.
We're going to get really good.
We're going to get really good at this soon. But we started this because if you go back and watch and listen to our first episode, which you can find on Spotify because we're a real podcast officially. We also have an Instagram in Rare Company. You will know that Caroline and Madison are moms to two rare babies. And you can hear their beautiful stories. And they are taking a drug called Elamipretide that helps them to survive and to thrive. And recently, the FDA denied the approval of this life-saving drug. And so we collaborated together and said, what better way to share stories than to use Instagram Live, to use Spotify, and to really get stories out there. So before we bring on our special guest for today, we want to talk a little bit about kind of the advocacy part right now, and how we really want the FDA to reverse their decision of Elamipretide. We talked a little bit, last episode about there was a type A meeting between Stealth and the FDA. And one of the things that came out of there is that there is no more data is needed from the FDA to make a decision, which that we thought that was an issue previously. Secondly, there's no efficacy issue. We know and patients know that it works. We're 8 hours of testimony from real patients and doctors showing that, hey, Elamipretide works. So from that meeting, that's, what was shown. And Stealth, they actually submitted basically to reverse the decision by the FDA. So I don't know if Caroline and Madison, y'all want to talk a little bit about that before we bring on our special guest and just kind of tell everyone this is what we're needing right now, as far as just advocacy goes, sharing, and that's kind of what we're hoping and praying for right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we need to keep pushing the message out there, keep getting Gilbert and Hope stories out there in your feeds and your stories, and tagging the FDA, tagging Marty McCary, which we have the correct handle, Dr. McCary FDA, tagging Health and Human Services Gov. That is the Health and Human Services Instagram account. And I think it's the same on across their social handles. Same thing with tagging Health and Human Services Secretary Kennedy. So he's got a couple different handles, but the one that at SEC, so Secretary Kennedy. So tagging him as well. And then continuing to tag media outlets. I tagged the Denver Post in a story yesterday, and I could see that they were looking at that story. So I hadn't, tagged them previously, but any news outlets, like your local ones, national ones, like I'm tagging like Jenna Bush Hager every day because I'm like, come on, Today Show, like pick it up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, the media stuff, yes. And like if local people pick it up, maybe then it'll get picked up by national. And I know on the other advocacy front has kind of been what has been happening with the state delegation. So like I know the state of Georgia, we had our state delegation letter that was sent. Every delegate of Georgia signed. That so far Georgia's been the only state to have the whole delegation sign off on this bipartisan letter to the FDA urging them, to take a hard look at Elamipretide. And so I know like Madison, the state you're in, y'all are working on a delegation letter. And I know there are several other states. I know South Carolina had a delegation letter sent. It didn't have every delegate on the letter. I know, have other states had a letter sent yet, or are they still in the works?
There are some other states. I know that Florida right now is working on one, which is really great. Representative Kamek and Representative Dunn are the leaders on that one. So we really thank them for that. As far as Georgia goes, all of our delegates here, especially want to give a shout out to Representative Buddy Carter for leading that bipartisan letter. Also to Representative Clyde. He did something really big and was able to put an amendment into the appropriations report, which actually got passed out of the House and is currently sitting in the Senate. And what it does is basically it tells the FDA they have to come before Congress and do a full review of why Elamipretide was denied. That was
requires transparency. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is
And
really,
that
really
was
awesome.
huge for the whole rare disease community. And I also want to thank Representative Congresswoman McBath. She and her staff, they are huge advocates of the rare disease community. Want to give a big shout out to particularly one of her staffers, Sunny. She was awesome. We had such a great conversation with her. They immediately wanted to jump on board and sign on, and very, very appreciative of, of her and the Congresswoman's support for the rare disease community in Georgia. And I'm just really proud of our state in general. I think that Georgia has really been a leader for the rare disease community, specifically to this. And I'm just really proud of our state, especially putting aside the red and the blue. People get so caught up in that, and the media gets so caught up in that. And at the end of the day, our state came together and said, hey, rare disease community is important, and we want people to know, and the FDA to know, and Commissioner McCary to know that they are important, and we want answers. And why is this process broken? So I'm hoping that other states are going to see Georgia's leadership and follow. And Madison, I know that you are working your booty off out there in Colorado, getting them working on a letter.
Yeah. And I would say I would just like to shout out Representative DeGette's office, Senator Hickenlooper, Senator Bennett, and Representative Crow, as well as Representative Neguse. So all of those offices have been offices that have taken meetings with me and Andy, who's Gilbert's dad / my husband. And
Andy.
they've been really they've been really responsive. Those meetings have been really positive. We're starting to get some traction and some movement. So just really want to shout out those offices and those staffers. So David, Peter, Ornella, and Ermina, who am I forgetting? Hannah. So those have been great offices to work with, and we're going to continue some next steps.
That's great.
Yeah.
And if we were missing any states, we apologize. We just are very tied into our own states where we live. I know that Tennessee, we've been working on letter from there. I know we're working on Alabama. We're having a problem just getting in touch with representatives in Alabama. So if anyone's listening to this and you have any connection with Congress members in the state of Alabama, hit us up. We need some help in that state. So we would really, appreciate that. I know we're working Mississippi. Arizona, I know that I think they may have sent a letter. I
was thinking that too. I think Arizona sent.
Yes. I think there were some northern states that have sent letters as well. So Virginia, I believe, was one.
I think Massachusetts was one.
Yeah, Massachusetts, I believe, was one that they were working on, because that's actually where Stealth, the maker of Elamipretide, is based. So
yeah,
a lot of good things in the work, but I think the one thing too is we want, Team Gilby, Warriors for Hope, continue to reach out to the members of Congress in the area you live and let them know that the FDA has a clicking, or I guess I don't really know how I'm going to say that. I don't think I've drank enough coffee yet since I'm still trying to drink my coffee, but there is a ticking clock, and August 1st is the deadline for the FDA to respond back to Stealth with their decision. And they need to know that they have all the data. They know that there's no efficacy issues with this drug, and we need them to act now. And they need to reverse their decision with the CRL. They need to just fully approve it. The path forward they suggested previously will not work, because it is not going to cover all patients of all ages. And that is the issue that we have.
Yeah. And speaking of all the like leaders in Congress and the House of Representatives have helped us, we can drop a full list of all the people and states that have so far helped us out. We'll do that after we're done recording and I've got it. But that way, we'll have that list. So if you live in a state where your representatives have reached out and helped, you can send them a thank you. You can tag them on social and just show your appreciation, because we really are happy to have people who are advocating for us on the Hill. So we'll do that as well.
Yes, and please thank your Congress members of Congress if they are helping and that they've been advocating. Please tag them, shoot them an email and tell them thank you. And we're doing the same. We really appreciate what they're doing for us and for Gilby and for Hope and for the entire community in the rare disease community, especially those on Elamipretide. So. All right. So should I bring on our special guest?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody want to introduce him? And I would do like a little drum roll if I had a drum here.
Well, Caroline should introduce him, but I think something everyone should know is kind of this episode is thinking about what is the experience like of being on Elamipretide. Yeah. Since Hope and Gilby are too young to really tell us what it's like, we reached out to our guest who's here, and then I'll speak about another guest who I'm going to talk through a little bit later after we see our other guest. But these are adults who are on Elamipretide, and so we wanted to hear what their experience is like, because they're able to verbalize and tell us about it in a way that children who are really young can't. We can see it as parents, we can see the impact, we could pull, draw labs and do echocardiograms and get ejection fractions, but to hear somebody vocalize this is what it feels like to be on Elamipretide. So that's kind of our focus this episode. So all right, Caroline, you introduce them.
Yeah, so we are bringing on Walker Berger, and so he is an adult living with Barth syndrome, and he has been on Elamipretide. And Walker, when you join, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's 7 years that he has been on Elamipretide. Walker, oh, there he is! Hey, Walker!
Hey, how are you?
Glasses class!
Hey! Walker,
Yeah.
he's got his glasses. We are
all like glasses, twinsy quadruplets.
I love it.
That's right.
I love it.
How are you
So,
guys?
yes, Walker, thank you for joining us. And so Walker, what's really special about Walker is he's a Georgia boy. And so,
Right.
Georgia in the house.
yes. So I think Walker and Hope are two of, maybe 4 on Elamipretide in the state. Are you and Hope the only 2 in Georgia?
I think we are.
Okay. So Walker and Hopi are the only 2 possibly in Georgia on Elamipretide. And so Walker, he actually spoke, and one question I'm going to ask him later on is about him testifying at the AdCom meeting that was back at the FDA in October. So I actually got to hear, Walker and I didn't really get to connect at that meeting, but I got to hear his testimony, and I got to hear him get up in front of, everyone at the AdCom meeting, Stealth and the FDA, and give his testimony and share about what Elamipretide has meant to him and how it has made such an impact and a transformation in his life. And so we're so excited to be connected with Walker and have him on today to share about Elamipretide and his story. So Walker, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for
having me. Walker, before we get started, since you're a Georgia boy, we got to ask. Favorite Georgia team: Bulldogs, Braves, Hawks, Falcons. We got to know.
Probably the Braves.
Oh, yes, my guy.
That's right.
Go Bravos.
Did you watch the home run derby the other night and the All-Star game? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course.
You had to see Matty Olson on there, right?
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that there's never been a Braves player to win the All-Star game or the home run derby.
I know. I was really hoping that Olsen was going to, pull it off or at least make it in the top 4. I think he was like 3 home runs short of being in that top 4. But next year,
Next year. That's right.
Yeah. So, Walker, why don't you start off just tell us a little about yourself, how old you are, and kind of your just journey, growing up with Barth syndrome, and share with us a little about Barth as well.
Yeah, do I need to turn off my fan? Is it too loud?
Oh,
Nope.
no, you're good.
Okay,
Good.
all right. So, so I was diagnosed with Barr syndrome at 19. Although I had all the symptoms of Barr syndrome my entire life, and as you all know, Barr syndrome is ultra rare. So I'm 35 now. So 20 or 15 years ago, it was even more unknown and more rare and all that. So like I said, I had all the symptoms of Barr syndrome, and how we found out was my childhood cardiologist called my mom completely out of the blue, and was like, "Hey, after going to a conference, they were talking about Barr syndrome. He called her and was like, "Hey, I know what he has." So that was at 19, like I said. And then from 19 until I was 27, we were doing everything we could, which wasn't much. But then when I was 27, I got an email about this study. The Barr Syndrome Foundation sent it out, and to make it even more crazy, I guess, at the time, I wasn't even on the email list with Barr syndrome. My sister was, and my nephew also has Barr syndrome, so she was kind of more in the loop of what was going on. But and then I emailed Dr. Vernon, had no idea who she was, and I was just like, hey, I'd love to help, blah blah blah. And about a month later, or right away, she emailed me back and was like, hey, Gray, we'll be in touch. And then about a month later, she emailed me back and was like, hey, if you're still interested, we'd love to talk. And to be quite honest, I completely forgot about it. I had to go back and figure out who she was and what she was talking about. And then, it began from there.
So you're talking about being on Elamipretide. So were you in clinical trials then?
Yeah. So I was one of the 12 people that were in the clinical trial. So we went up there and did all the baseline tests, which include like blood work, a bunch of questionnaires, EKG, echocardiogram, and then one thing you heard a lot about at the AdCon was that 6-minute walk test.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah,
They
tell
really
us about
They really
that.
harped on that.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody does. They just like live and die off of that test. So basically, all it is you walk up and down a hallway for 6 minutes. So there's a cone on one side and a cone on the other side. On one side of the hallway, and there's a cone on the other side of the hallway. And I believe it was 30 meters, maybe 25 meters one way. So you literally just do laps for 6 minutes. And at the end, they say, and they like count you down, and it's like, okay, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, they say stop, and you really just stop where you are, and the physical therapist will come out with a little measuring tape thing and measure exactly how far you walked in meters.
Okay.
And that's a test that a lot of people use in a lot of studies. It's very well known, and like you heard at the AdCon, it's just 6-minute walk this, 6-minute walk that.
Yep.
They're obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And I think, Caroline, or can you add in about how that test doesn't really line up, and it shouldn't be a litmus test, I guess, for approving or not approving, Elamipretide, because like Gilbert, he is like 6 months old, and he's not going to be able to do a 6-minute walk test going from cone to cone, back and forth, back and forth. He's a baby.
I know that one thing I've heard people say is, like you said, living and dying on that 6-minute walk test, and you're asking people that have a compromised mitochondria, compromised heart, and they're deconditioned and they're being asked to perform this, walk test, which seems a bit unfair. You know, I was going to ask you though, as I'm hearing you talk about doing these laps in this 6-minute walk test, how often did you have to go, do these tests to hit these endpoints? Like, what was that process like, and
So
how long of a trial was it? How
yeah,
long
yeah,
did you do that for?
yeah. So this will kind of give you an idea of what the original timeline was
Yeah.
and what we are now. So I went up about, like I said, about a month after I talked to Dr. Vernon on the phone, and we did our baseline tests, which is when they do all these tests like blood work. They talk to you about your medical history. They do the EKG, echocardiogram, all those physical tests, and basically what they're trying to figure out from that is that you are healthy enough to do this, and that they confirmed that you had Bar syndrome. And then also to be eligible for this, the only symptom you could have was Bar syndrome, because that's what they're going exactly after, right? So then I went up there, and then about 2 weeks later, she called me and was like, "Hey, you you qualify. You're healthy enough. We've gotten all these tests back. If you want to continue, you can." I said, "Obviously, yes." So then about a few weeks later, we went up there again. They do all the tests again. I'm not going to repeat everything we did, but it's because it's the same thing every time. We did all the tests, and we signed all the papers and said, "Yes, I'll do this." And then the injections began. So what this thing is called is a double-blind, placebo-controlled study with a crossover. It's like the official name of this study. So I started taking the injections. As I said, it's double-blind, so nobody knew if I was on drug or placebo. So then I went home, did the injections for 12 weeks. While you're on it and throughout the trial, you answer these questions on the iPad, and they're like basically lifestyle questions. There were like 8 or 10 of them, and actually the first 2 were: did you do your injection? Yes or no? What time did you do it? And where did you do it? Because it's on the abdomen, but they have to know exactly where and like exactly when you did it. So, like I said, I went home for 12 weeks. We also had a home nurse that would come visit us monthly, every 4 weeks, because one of the concerns on doing something like this is the safetyness of it. And I'll just say this right now, the safetyness of this drug has never been an issue for me, ever. I mean, never. And I don't think it's been an issue for a lot of people. But just to put it out there. So after the 12 weeks was up, and the improvements that I saw in the first period were unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. And
when you say like improvements that you saw were unbelievable, like tell us about that. Was it your energy, like your stamina? Like what was it exactly?
so it was like a domino effect. It
Okay.
all started with my energy level. I started to have all this new energy, and I went from, being really tired to having a little energy to having more energy, and it just continued to build. And once I had enough energy, I was able to walk further. My muscles started to improve. To kind of give you an example of how it was before, I had this much energy to get me through the entire day. And, in terms of strength, it took me, for every quarter of a mile, it took me 2 or 3 breaks. Or for every quarter mile, I had to stop 2 or 3 times, just because I was so weak, and I had, so little energy. And then once, I had more energy, I was started to improve strength wise. Then my quality of life started to turn, and it was something else. And then it grew and grew and improved and improved. And when I went back for my 12-week visit, we all were just like, this is unbelievable.
Wow.
So, and then at the 12-week visit, we do all the tests again, and then I enter the washout period, which is 4 weeks, and that is when everybody knows you're not on any drug. You're not taking any injections of any type, to let your body flush out whatever you were on. So, like for me, again, I've never been told this. I never will be told this. When I was on the drug, but I believe I was on the drug the first 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So again, it let my body, flush out whatever I had. And then they did the crossover, which means they used me as like two people, Walker A and Walker B, just because it was so rare. There was 12 of us. For them to find 24 of us, it would have been very, very, very difficult. So that's why they took me and crossed us over and used me as Walker B. And then whatever I was on the first time, I wasn't on the second time.
Okay.
I went home for 12 weeks, and then that was the end of the blind portion of the trial.
Can I ask you a question? So, like, when you say your quality of life improved, like up until this point when you were doing the trial, like, can you talk about your experience, like, with the symptoms of Barth syndrome, or like how you experienced it? Because from reading and like being on Facebook and stuff, starting to get to know different members of the community, kind of sounds like it varies. Like some people are in wheelchairs, some kids don't go to school full time. Like, can you tell us about your experience?
So I had it mildly. I was literally in the middle of the road. And we knew that throughout the trial, throughout my life up until the trial, because you're right. I mean, some people, oh my God, I feel sorry for them. They're in wheelchairs, and, they can't even open a bag of chips and all this stuff. And I knew about that, but still I was just like, that's unbelievable, and so it was just the quality of life. I mean, that was my life, and we didn't know anything different.
So, like, growing up, like, did you have energy to like go to school a full day, or like do extracurricular activities, or kind of like how did your childhood look growing up to when you were diagnosed at the age of 19?
Yeah, so I was able to go to school full time, but I know some weren't, and I had a pretty much normal life with Barth syndrome, as normal as possible.
Okay.
But my energy level at the end of the day, I mean, I was dead tired. I mean, I would have to come home and rest, and the thought of going outside and playing, or going and doing this was not a question. I mean, because it just wasn't going to happen, and we knew it.
Did that impact like dynamics with like friends and like being able to participate in like Carolyn was saying, like extracurriculars, sports, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, I played, baseball, Little League baseball, and all that, but I was the slowest kid on the team, and you could tell something was wrong. And that's another thing, like growing up, even before I was diagnosed, we all knew something was wrong. You know, it's not normal to have this low of an energy level, be this weak, and because of those two things, you know, my quality of life just suffered. But yeah, it showed.
I'm curious, like, and I don't know this. I wouldn't know this for Hope, but with Barth, like with Gilby or with you, Walker, are they able to identify like how compromised your mitochondria are? Like, you know, if it's supposed to produce 90% of the energy.
Oh, we lost Caroline.
Yeah. So I think yeah. I mean, they can see. So one thing we've learned through this trial is the reason why this drug works. It creates more ATP. What's ATP? So you take the cell, right, and there's little lines through the cell, which is
Squiggles.
yes. Uh, and the less squiggles you have, the less power the cell has, which in terms makes you have less energy, uh, you know, less stamina, you're weak, and your poor quality of life. And that's one thing that they've found is taking this drug. It's absorbed, you know, it's subcutaneous, so it's injected into your blood system, and in your blood, part of what you have is called cardiolipin. So the drug is absorbed by the cardiolipin, which creates or makes the ATP, those squiggly lines, and then in turn is why you have see the improvements. I've seen the improvements that I've seen in my energy, strength, and quality of life.
Yeah, and Walker, we'll have to post this on
Yeah.
our Instagram in Rare Company, but I think I had posted this a while back when we first started advocating for Elamipretide. But one of the stealth slide decks that they showed was fascinating because it has three cells. It's got the normal mito heart cell. It has a Bar syndrome mitocell, and then it has the cell with Elamipretide, and it is it's a miracle to see how much on the very end it's the Bar syndrome cells in the middle, but on the end they look almost identical just from having taking Elamipretide. It completely transforms the cell, and it looks exactly like a typical cell almost.
Yeah.
And you
Can
can
you see
see
my
all the
screen, Haley?
squiggles.
Wait,
It's
can you see my screen?
No, not yet. It looks like it's thinking.
Oh man, I'm showing that slide.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
okay.
we're gonna wait because it's gonna show it in a minute. But if you can see the slide, I mean, it is so cool because, I mean, it works. If you knew nothing, it's like Walker probably never knew he was going to get his PhD
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and doctor. So did Caroline and Madison, you all are doctors, just from, being in the rare disease community. But when you see that, if you knew nothing about anything medical and you are a visual learner and you look at that, you can't unsee that and be like, oh, I don't know if it works. It works. You're literally looking at the cells and seeing it work right in this picture. If Madison's screen will load.
Yeah, and that's like one thing, if the AdCon meeting, I guess we're going to get into it in a minute, but if there is one picture that I wish they would see, it would have been that picture. One, just one.
I mean,
That's all.
that picture was so powerful. I
Yeah.
mean, in talking about the AdCom committee meeting, so kind of recapping last week briefly, everyone, the AdCom committee meeting, it was last fall. And so that meeting, coming out of that meeting, Elamipretide got a 10-6 favorable vote, to go before the FDA for approval. And so what we've since learned is when drugs get a favorable vote out of that committee meeting, then 97% of the time they get approved. So it was a lot of shock and awe whenever they issued the CRL to Stealth, not approving this drug, because we thought 10-6 vote, that's a slam dunk. We're going to get this drug through the finish line. And so, here we are in the aftermath. But Walker, you shared there were over 10 people,
Yeah.
either people living with Barth or advocates for Barth or parents that had children living with Barth, that they spoke and testified at this advisory committee meeting. So can you kind of share a little bit about what you said there, and also, how was that, just preparing for that, traveling for that, kind of the emotional part of having to be really vulnerable in front of a group of people and really kind of lay
Is
it
that
all
where
out
y'all
there?
met? Caroline, did you and Walker meet there?
No. So I think were you the first one to go,
Yeah, I was the
Walker?
first one to go.
Okay, so that's what I thought. So you were the first one to go, and we did not get to meet. I obviously knew Shelly, and that was the reason that we got up there. And then I connected with another young man while I was there, and I think he was from Mississippi, and he was so sweet. He was wonderful to talk to, but we never got to talk, and we got connected through starting to do the delegation letter. Shelly connected me with your mom, Sally, and with you, Walker, and, working, because y'all had already worked the delegation front where y'all were sending letters, to the delegates. And then Shelly kind of connected all of us to be working and pulling the lever at the same time. And so, yeah, but talk about the AdCom meeting and kind of all that went into that, and kind of just anything you want to say about that.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, it took some preparation, but I guess for me, I've written letters for years to, the FDA, to, congressmen, to whoever. I mean, and so I kind of had my speech already ready to go.
Okay.
But basically, I just went through my story, kind of how life was before, how life was during the trial, and how life is now. In 30 seconds, that's all I said for 4 minutes. And just said, how impactful this has been to me, personally. But it was very stressful.
Yeah.
You were there. I mean, the emotions, the highs of highs, the lows of lows, all day. I mean, it was just, will this ever end?
Yeah.
And that's honestly, we can get into this in a minute, but that's kind of how this study has gone throughout the 7 years I've been in it. Just a roller coaster of emotions and all that. But at the end of the day, like you said, we got the federal vote. As you said, we all thought this is it. I mean, I was talking to Stealth afterwards, and they were saying this is the biggest hurdle we have left. We're good to go. We'll just cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and we'll be good to go. We'll have our answer and we'll be done. Well, then, all hell broke loose. So,
Yeah. What was like, as far as, obviously, like, your testimony was very moving. And I mean, and my younger sister, Anna, my husband, Ben, and our son, Thomas, we were all there. And I was just like crying the whole time. I mean, it was really hard to hear these stories, and these parents literally begging these people, saying, hey, this drug is saving my child's life.
The ones that, the stories that get me, I know I have this crazy story and whatever, but the ones that get me are the babies.
Yes, me too. And that it's hard with this drug because the path forward, they're wanting to exclude the infants. And so you see these babies that are so severely sick.
And those are the ones that need it the most.
100%. 100%.
Those are the ones that this drug has saved their life.
Yep. And it has. And even talk about, you know, kind of pivoting a little bit, like you have a family member that's younger than you that is living with Barr syndrome, and I believe he's had a heart transplant,
Yeah.
and he desires to be on Elamipretide, and he's not able to be.
Yeah.
So can you share a little about him and kind of his journey through Barth? And I mean, I guess having already a heart transplant, like his heart condition, it sounds like it got pretty severe. And so how
Yeah.
his quality of life is now.
Yeah. So he received a heart transplant. He was 4 months old. He was born in November, if I did the math correct, November, and we got it February 1st. And we knew right away something was seriously wrong.
Mm.
At 8 days old, he was put on the heart transplant list. Within 12 hours, he was born in Auburn, Alabama. In 12 hours, they airlifted him to Atlanta, Georgia. And
Wow.
he spent the first, 4 months in the hospital, and that was our life. And, going through something like that, and hearing others going through similar things, I mean, I understand, I get it. I mean, it is hard. I mean, it's your life. But, now he's 15 now, and he has Barr syndrome. I mean, he has the symptoms of Barr syndrome. I mean, he's weak, has very little energy. His quality of life is suffering. I mean, it's just how it is. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they were asking about him, and they were saying, oh, all the drugs that he has to be on. He's like, yeah, I mean, he has like 3 or 4 drugs, but the biggest thing is the symptoms he has to deal with Barr syndrome, related to Barr syndrome. I mean, that's one thing that people may not realize is having a heart transplant does not make the symptoms of Barr syndrome go away.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Did you see the newsletter today? So Barr Syndrome Foundation sends out this newsletter that I don't know how I got on the list, but I'm on the list. And literally today, one of the headlines for the newsletter is new research article on effects of heart transplantation in Barr syndrome patients. The title of the article, cardiac transplantation does not improve exercise tolerance, muscle mass, or substrate metabolism in Barr syndrome.
Yeah.
So like our cardiologist says this all the time, like heart transplant doesn't, it helps the heart, right? Because you're getting a new heart, but that doesn't solve the problem and the rest of the symptoms. So, I mean, your nephew is that proof right there. And then here's a study that just came out that is
clarifies that. Yeah. I mean, and that's what people have not told me personally, but I've heard people try to say, oh well, if he has a heart transplant, he'll be okay. No, no, that's just not right. It's actually not true.
So your nephew, he's had the heart transplant. He had heart failure, but he still has, the symptoms of Barr syndrome. So he desires to be on Elamipretide to help that. So because he's not like having a severe failure of the heart right now, he can't get on it through emergency access or compassionate use. So until it's approved, he has no access to the drug. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Another reason, we're all trying to push it, especially my mom, she's just like, we're not too worried about, she just wants him to experience the life that I've lived, that I've experienced over the next 7 years, and that's one thing is like, I'm interested to see how we're going to think positive here and think that this is going to get approved for everybody, because it needs to be, right? I mean, like I told you, I'll say it again, if the FDA is listening, this drug needs to be approved for all ages, especially the younger ones, because all of you have been put on it in dire need, and it has literally changed your life forever. Period.
Yeah, I mean, it is the reason
Yeah.
why Gilbert is at home, because
Yes.
Elamipretide basically took over what Milrinone was doing for him. Like,
Yes.
it stabilized his heart function. I mean, he is, that's the thing too, is like, and I don't know if you can speak to this a little bit, but like, you know, like Gilbert doesn't just take Elamipretide. Like, he also takes other, heart failure medications. And that, is probably different for each kid with Barr syndrome, because like everybody has kind of a little bit of a different flavor of it. But Elamipretide is specifically targeting his mitochondrial function. The oral heart meds that he's taking, those are for heart failure, and people in different types of heart failure take those. But it's like Elamipretide is the one that it's a shot. We don't have to have it through an IV. That's why he can be at home. And yeah,
And that's why he's doing so well. And that
mm-hmm.
period. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no debating that. And that's another thing. You said he's taking more medicine than, as well as in addition to Elampatide, but Elampatide is the only drug I take. The only
Nice.
drug I take. Period.
Wow.
And there's other boys that are in it, and that the drug is the only medicine they take.
That's awesome.
And I remember you saying that when you testified, I believe. You said, this is the only drug I take. Didn't you say that? Did you say that at the AdCom? Maybe. I feel like I remember it was you or someone else
Well,
saying that, just to make the point of, this is all I'm taking.
that,
Like, this
that
is what is helping and
yeah,
making the difference.
that's the person I'm talking about. So that was the person that spoke second. He
Okay.
was the one. His boys were the one that said, "This is the only drug I take."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I'm curious because, like, you said Dr. Vernon got you on Elamipretide. And, like, for us, if we had not gone to CHOP and seen these people that specialize in mitochondrial disease, then, I mean, none of our doctors here, like, even our heart doctors here at CHOA, like, they don't even know anything about Elamipretide. So I'm, like, curious, like, Madison, how did y'all get on Elamipretide? What doctor found this out, and what kind of doctors out there are aware of these types of drugs for kids like ours, and for Walker people like you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that we feel really, really lucky to have had happen for us, because our cardiologist actually testified at the AdCom. So, and she has done research on Elamipretide. So, we just, by the grace of whatever you want to believe, like, oh my, like she happened to be the person who was working on, that holiday after Christmas, that 28th, 29th weekend when we were airlifted over. Like, she happened to be there, and she she does heart failure and genetics. She's on both teams. And so, I mean, we just are obsessed with her. She's like our favorite person in the world, because we literally we credit her to saving Gilbert's life, because she knew the signs and symptoms of Barr syndrome. She has, talked to and worked with, I think, Dr. Vernon before. She's done research. Her research is really cool. She co-authored a paper about they explanted, like, so hearts that were being transplanted, like failing hearts. They took tissue from those hearts and treated them with Elamipretide. So the tissue, and I can also drop a link to that paper as well. But they saw incredible changes in the heart tissue of these failing hearts from Elamipretide. So she was very familiar with it, and was
When,
able to get
when
us
did
out.
they do that? When did they do that?
When do they do that research?
Yeah.
Let me look. It's on gogilbygo.com, everyone. If you have not been to gogilbygo.com, you should, because at the bottom of the site, we always post every media article. Anything about Elamipretide is linked in there. So, like, my favorite part about it is every time y'all do a news story, Caroline is like, like, I've had to do Philtack : like this one, Philtack this one. Like, you guys have so many great stories, so you're on there a bunch. But then at the
And
bottom,
that's an impressive site. Do you do that? Like, I wouldn't even know how to
Yeah.
start, like, creating that or putting that together.
I love doing, like, websites, so that's why but yes, I made it. But so there's one down there at the bottom in research and learning resources. It's Casey Chatfield et al. This article came out in look, 2019, Elamipretide improves mitochondrial function in the failing human heart. So, I mean, it's Dr. Chatfield. She is amazing. We're so lucky that we happened to be at Children's at the right time, at the right place, and when she told us he had Barth syndrome, it was in January. It was January 9th. And she said, we just had this AdCom in October. And I was like, what's an AdCom? And she was like, you should watch the patient testimony. It's really powerful. I was not in a place where I could do it. I was like, I can't,
Yeah.
Everything was
I
too
get that.
emotional, but I have since watched much of it.
Yeah.
But she said, we had this AdCom, and very likely at the end of this month, we will have, it'll be available. And I am so glad that I asked her, well, what if it doesn't get approved? Is there a way for us to get him on this drug now? And she was like, yes. So thank God we did, because then lo and behold, January 29th came and went. And so I'm so glad that we got on it, because, the other thing that kills me is that Gilbert we knew he was in heart failure very immediately, within 24 hours, he was not doing well. But if you are a kid right now who was born, who's your heart failure didn't happen until you were your family didn't know until 3 months. It doesn't always present immediately. It can happen a little bit later on, and then you're hospitalized. Well, then if you were able to get treatment and become stable enough, past over the course of 10 years, right, where things were in clinical trials, and now you're stable enough that you're not in critical need, you can't be on Elamipretide like your nephew.
Yeah.
So but there's,
They've stopped issuing emergency access to people.
When did they stop that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know? I don't know exactly when. It's been fairly recent.
Ugh.
Well, we might have to fact check, because I thought they were going to stop it because they were thinking there was going to be approval. But then I think since it's been denied, I thought everyone was still, who was on it was able to get it. And they were also taking new applications for compassionate use if people needed it.
All right. You can check that. But yeah, I think they haven't, because they've stopped everything because of the financial problems we're running into.
We'll double check.
Yeah.
Because I'm oh no. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's So, but to get back to the point, I need to work on not talking forever. You're saying, Caroline, if you don't have somebody who knows about Barth syndrome or knows about Elamipretide for other mito conditions, it's really hard for people to get what they need. There have been other kids in our community who their doctors just weren't educated about this particular syndrome. And so it takes a while to be what is going on with this baby? And they're trying all these different things, and let's do a CT scan, let's do this, let's do that. And then, eventually it's oh, okay, it's Barth syndrome, but it takes a little bit if you're not aware of what it is.
Well, and especially for Hope, because, she doesn't have Barth syndrome, but she was able to get this medicine through the expanded access program, and it has benefited her in a miraculous, way. And so that too, it's even though the trial was in Barth syndrome, and it's a mito condition, it has had so many other benefits for, kids and adults that we maybe, don't even know in the U.S. right now, taking it through the expanded access program like Hope.
And that's one thing, if you ask me, if you ask Dr. Vernon, if you ask Steph, we all think we have just hit the tip of the iceberg of what this drug could do.
Yes.
With all the other mitochondrial disorders, you too, or Hope is a prime example, of what this could do for other mitochondrial disorders, because there's been a few others that have been put on it that don't have Barth syndrome, and they are doing fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just segue into that real quick, because I'm speaking of, I have to go prep Gilbert's shot in a minute. But so I'll talk about this real quick, and then you guys can continue talking. I'll just pop off for a minute. But so we have someone in our who's joined the advocacy effort in our community. Her name is Dr. Josie Van Lunden, And she is a doctor. She's a cancer survivor, and she also has primary mitochondrial disease. We are working to get a segment with her, but because of her mitochondrial disease, she, you know, has some specific like limitations around how much time and energy she has, and when she doesn't feel good, she doesn't feel good. So we're going to be working to get her on and to maybe do like a little pre-record with her. But her story is incredible. She is on social all over the place. Her handle is Cancer Survivor MD.
That's it.
So yeah, the word Cancer Survivor MD. She has a website, and it's like a blog. She's got cancersurvivormd.org, and then she's on all the socials. Give her a follow, because everything she says is just so compelling. She wrote an incredible article on Kevin MD, which we'll also link. But I sent her some interview questions earlier this week, just so that like she was able to do some responding and thinking about it when she, felt like she was able to. And I asked her if I could share a little bit of her story on here, up until, since we're kind of doing an adults episode. And I just wanted to say something about her. So because, she doesn't have Barth syndrome, but she does have primary mitochondrial myopathy. And she takes Elamipretide, and it has also helped with those symptoms. So, let's see, she says, so when I asked her, what's important for people to know or understand about your condition, she says, I have a form of primary mitochondrial disease called primary mitochondrial myopathy. This affects the mitochondria, our cells' energy producers, and leads to progressive multi-system symptoms, muscle weakness, autonomic dysfunction, breathing problems, fatigability, and double vision. I use a powered wheelchair and a ventilator, and much of my disability is invisible. People don't see the decreased stamina, swallowing problems, bowel and bladder dysfunction, or the sheer effort it takes to stay upright. One of the biggest misconceptions is that mitochondrial disease is just about being tired, or that it only affects children. In reality, it can strike at any age, and it touches every part of life. My family has been deeply impacted. My college-age son grew up with a mom whose body couldn't always keep up, and my husband now serves as my caregiver. But we've built a life anchored in connection, creativity, and resilience, shaped around what I can still do. So when I asked her what has been her journey with Elamipretide, she said, shortly after my diagnosis, my doctor recommended enrollment in the third expanded access arm of an Elamipretide trial. Ethically, my doctor told me I was too ill to risk being randomized to placebo. I started daily subcutaneous injections at home and have now been on the drug for over 3 years. It took a few months to notice changes, but they were real and meaningful. And so she goes on to talk, we'll have her get on at some point, but she said for the physical experience of it, the improvements are subtle but hugely meaningful. My body simply started failing or crashing less often. I could sit upright longer, breathe more easily. I could regain some independence. And she says, I hope future studies could explore topics such as dose stratification and escalation. Elamipretide is not a cure. My disease is still progressing beneath the surface, but it's helping me maintain function and regain abilities I thought were gone. And that's no small thing for myself, as well as places less of a burden on my family, community, and the healthcare system. I don't have Barth syndrome, which is also mitochondrial disease, but if the FDA doesn't grant full approval for Barth syndrome with broad labeling, that's what we've been talking about, everyone, like open labeling, broad labeling, all ages, right? Access to Elamipretide will end for everyone. That includes me. Even though clinical trials for primary mitochondrial myopathy and other diseases are underway, it will be too late to save the company that produced it, right? Like, this has taken too much time and money and resources. Stealth is a small company, and like she's saying, like, yeah. And she says, if I lose access, I expect a rapid decline across nearly all bodily systems. My caregiving needs will increase drastically. I'll lose my ability to advocate, to participate in family life, and to care for myself. This isn't just about not feeling well. It's about losing the gains I've made and falling back into a fragile state that endangers my quality of life, safety, dignity, and most of all, survival. I mean, like, and
that's what we talked about, I think, last episode, Madison, was, when Stealth got the latest CRL, they cut their workforce 33% just so that they financially can continue making Elamipretide for the next 6 months, so that the current patients can still be able to take it, in the hope that maybe between now and then it will get approved. But that's the seriousness of this to everyone who is watching or listening. there is a huge time clock going very fast right now. You know, we have an August 1 deadline with the FDA where we're hoping they're going to reverse their decision and just full out approve it. But if not, I mean, we have 6 months, maybe less, that Stealth can continue making this. You know, they're a private company. They've already cut 33% of their workforce just to continue making it so that patients can continue taking this life-saving medicine and life-changing medicine. And, you know, we really need help. We need people to be voices for our friends like Walker and for Hope and for Gilbert, you know, for Dr. Josie. I mean, for so many other patients who are out there in the country who are part of this small and rare disease community that need our help. And, you know, that's one of the reasons we started to do this is we want you to hear from real people and hear the real stories of how this medicine is changing lives. And we just don't understand why it isn't already approved.
And that's what I fear the most is them running out of money and they'll have to stop everything. And if that happens, you know, that will be the worst day of my life. But I would have never done this.
Yeah.
What, like,
to experience this for 7 years, it's only been 8 years, to experience the life that I could only dream about before, be taken away from me like that.
Mm.
And that's what I told people is, you know, when we get our decision, it will be the best day or the worst day of my life.
That's tough. Ugh.
That's
And
gonna make me cry.
especially, and it will not make it any easier if they do not include the babies.
Yeah.
That will crush all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, it will just. I can't.
No.
I can't imagine. You know,
I know.
like I've said, those are the ones that need it the most.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Well, you know what? We're just going to keep
And that's
in the squeaky wheel, right, Walker? Until the FDA, what they don't know is we're not going away. It's just going to get way worse. We're going to keep tagging them multiple times a day now.
The right guy.
And
Yeah.
that's one thing I wanted to mention is, you know, the collaboration in between Stealth, the investor, Dr.
Yep.
Vernon Hopkins, the patients, the Barson, the community, and then you guys that have, you know, joined over the years. It's incredible. Like, I have never seen a group of people more motivated, determined to get something done. It is mind blowing.
Yeah.
And if one group of people said no, I'm out, we would not be here today. Period.
I think if you have to find a silver lining in this, it's a really crappy situation how we all are connected now.
Yeah.
But it's very beautiful how we're like family now. It's like we've come together. Like, I've never met you in person, Walker. I've never met Madison, but I literally think I talk to you guys like every single day. And we've created this really awesome just team of, you know, hey, we're going to get this done because, you know, the rare disease community is very small, but it is very mighty. And to have our community and our friends and our family and members of Congress to stand beside us and say, hey, like, this is important. You need to pass this drug. Like, I mean, we're going to get loud. We're not going away. We're going to keep fighting day after day until this is done.
And that's one thing. Like, I met a lot of Bar syndrome families, mothers in particular, when I went to Washington for the Rare Disease Week last year or 2 years ago. And going into that, you know, I thought I had a lot of motivation and determination. I was, you know, a lot of drive, but nothing. I had nothing compared to others. I mean,
you don't want to mess with those mamas.
Yeah,
those mama bears.
Southern mamas.
Grandma's even worse.
Yeah,
I
your mom is a bulldog.
yeah,
Oh man.
Listen, you don't want Georgia mamas coming for you. That's
That's
all I
right.
got
Me
to
and
say.
Sally, we're gonna
And
get after it.
those Colorado moms, okay?
right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the Barr Syndrome Foundation, I cannot say enough good things. Like meeting, I remember the first time I talked to Shelly, Ben and I, we were going golfing. We tried to start golfing lately. And we were going golfing, and I had called Shelly like back in the fall, and I was like, oh, at CHOP, we had just been there, and they had said, hey, this drug's going before this advisory committee meeting. Like, we need advocates. And I was like, oh, like, me and my family, we know how to advocate for stuff. Like, what do I need to do? And they were like, you need to reach out to Shelly. So I called Shelly, and like, I'm sitting there about to go golf, and I'm on the phone with her for like an hour, and I'm just crying as she's telling me like she lost two babies to birth, and kind of her motivation behind this is she was like, I don't want to see another baby die. And so like she really has been so active, and y'all's whole foundation, I mean, the Bar Syndrome Foundation is so organized, and I mean, everybody is like pulling every lever they can. Like, I've never seen, I mean, it is a well-oiled machine. The communication y'all send out, the marketing, like, it's very impressive, to
Yeah,
me.
and that's one thing. Like before all this started, I knew of Shelley. I met her once before, but I had no idea who Emily was. Didn't want anything to do with the foundation, And but then, like you said, I mean, this
Yep.
is one incredible group
Yep.
of. I mean, like I said, I mean, if it wasn't for them and everybody else, we would not be here today.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yep. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
well, Walker, thank you so much for coming on In Rare Company today. You are awesome. And I mean, what a cool and inspiring story. And we just really appreciate your advocacy for Elamipretide. And, we can't wait to share this with the world. And, we hope that all the people who need to hear this, like Commissioner McCary and RFK, everyone at HHS, that they will hear this and they will know, what a difference it's made in your life and what a difference it's making in so many other patients'
And
lives. So thank
just
you so much.
and just how much, it's changed my life. And, FDA, they talk about how the safetiness and effectiveness of it. And, I live that every day, and I have lived it for the past, 7 years. So
Yeah.
I just hope that they understand and see that it is safe and it is effective and it needs to be approved for all ages.
Yep, I'm with you. So approve it for all ages, reverse your decision, and full out approve Elamipretide. That is what we're going for. We're sending all the prayers.
I can't hear your sound.
I think she muted herself.
I did. Sorry about that, guys. I think my phone was ready for me to just be done. We're going to keep sending all the prayers up. We're going to keep fighting. And, that's all we can do. So, but thank
Well,
you,
thank
Walker, so
well,
much.
guys. I mean,
Well, thank you. Y'all, we will be back next week. We're going to have more cool people on like Walker to share stories. And this was In Rare Company from the front lines for our battle of pushing and hopefully getting Elamipretide approved.
Thanks, everybody.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Hello, everybody. Gonna add our peeps on here real quick.